Welcome to the Trades Podcast, a podcast about the business of home improvement and promoting the trades to young adults.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is a great day here today. This is the Trades Podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Jeff.
We're excited because we're going to be talking about a little bit more of business insights for everybody here today. Hiring too late, some different aspects of what hiring would entail and why it would be bad to hire too late. So what do you think, Jeff? We're going to talk about these things.
I think this is a subject that a lot of contractors are facing right now. They know they need to hire, but that's a big decision. It costs money to hire people. So let's walk them through it.
Yeah, it's one of the most common mistakes, contractors are making. You're just waiting too long. So, there's definitely a few things that, if you throw it up in the air for yourself as contractors, you should be asking yourself, some specific questions. I'm sure you had some questions that you went through, Jeff, but what do you think those contractors should be asking themselves?
Well, for me, I always had the philosophy, always be hiring, always be looking for a good, technician, a good carpenter for my business. But we were definitely at a size where I could handle a new hire and do a little training. So I had a system set up for that, and it made it a lot more efficient for us. So that was one aspect that I was, I think, decently good at.
Yeah.
But for a lot of other people with a smaller business, it can be a struggle.
The small business piece, because, I would imagine you're wearing multiple hats, trying to get things kicked off and running. And granted, if you're having a good season or a good moment of your business where you're busy, people are constantly calling you. I'm sure there's those questions that, that pop up, like, oh, I just need to get through this month, or one more employee would be great, but I can't afford it. Too busy to train someone right now. There's no systems in place, so if you're asking these questions, I think this episode's for you right here. So
we want to thank our sponsor. Superior Flooring Cabinet Designs is one of the landmark family-owned businesses in Encinitas. Owner Cheryl Robertson, with years of customer experience managing her family's hardware and cabinet business in North Park. Cheryl Robertson and the Superior team dive deep to learn about your project and help you find the perfect solution for your flooring and cabinetry needs. Call today at 760-436-0900 or visit www.superiorfloors.com.
Yeah. There's payroll costs that are in there, examples, you got employee costs, you're billing customers for a job or for services provided, not the cost of the training, and then the owner thinks, oh, I can't afford another employee, so I think that's something that you had. Jeff, you've definitely gone through this, but what did you put together that you really wanted to talk about today?
Well, if you try to calculate the cost of not doing a hire, you miss some calls, you have delayed your estimates, you're spending more time trying to do everything yourself, possible canceled jobs. A lot of contractors go by pure tenacity and are on the edge of burnout, possible some customer turnover, and it affects your ability to grow.
Yeah, that's a key thing. I can probably even relate a little bit to that right now in my business and situations of, like you mentioned, always hiring, but there's definitely some of those missed calls and, calling back. And, it's one of those systems and processes that you want to put in place where, technology, we can talk about it all the time, and of AI and different programs to be able to use to help lessen the load. But once you're actually trying to find an employee that's going to be doing something physically that technology can't take over, I would imagine that it's going to take time. You're going to have to ask yourself, are you okay with more missed calls? Are you okay with these delayed estimates, the canceled jobs, the customer turnover? Those are the real questions I think we got to ask ourselves. Yeah. And then, I imagine for any contractor throughout the week, about $5,000 project if something's turned away, right?
Well, even if it's for one project or a variety of hourly billings, that's I think, a good starting point on what a technician in a lot of fields can produce in gross sales. So
Yeah,
on a
and
weekly basis.
yeah, I mean, on a weekly basis, but then double that, or almost triple that on a monthly revenue loss, and then around a quarter a million a year. Suddenly, you're going to start thinking about and answering those questions that we had earlier. Can you afford another employee? It's like, well, payroll at that point, when you're 5,000 a week and then 20,000 monthly and quarter million a year. Yes, it definitely adds up, and that compounding amount absolutely is going to make payroll look like it should be, much easier to handle if those jobs are being able to be taken care of by a new hire.
Yeah, even a new hire that starts off riding with somebody else. Just look at his payroll. You're paying him $20 an hour, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. That's roughly $41,000 a year. Plus, you got some taxes on top of that. You've got benefits. Um, they're really probably only working 48 weeks out of a year with some PTO and some time off. But on the flip side, if you're having them do a ride along with a technician that's billing hourly, and he can only just starts off by adding 3 hours to that hourly um, billing per day. That's another at $75 an hour. That works out to at 48 working weeks, another $54,000. It's
Mhm.
almost a match for what it's going to cost you. You definitely need to take the time, and I don't think it'll take you that long, but take the time to run those numbers yourself. You know what your payroll numbers are. You know what the hiring market is going to entail. When you can get pretty close to that, then you should be looking for a hire to add on, because in a year, that person's going to be, um, well, one, at the 6 month mark, I think that 3 hours a day is going to be up quite a bit. Maybe not at 8, but pretty close. At the year mark, he might be able to be out on his own. So he's billing that, 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day on his own. So those numbers completely change after a certain point. They just keep getting better. And
Mhm.
with that, your ability to produce, grow, sell more jobs, it increases.
Yeah. And I mean, through these numbers and kind of through these scenarios that we're kind of giving, that weekly project that's going to be turned away, the $20,000 a month, quarter million a year. I mean, this is, I think, more specifically of, say, a one employee company, like maybe one or two employee company. Would you say, or would d- would this kind of fit what you're mentioning, like that extra 3 hours a day? This can apply to a big company where where they have employees able to train these new hires, right? For those extra 3 hours.
Um, I think if you're like a two-man company yourself and one technician, that first hire is going to be a lot tougher. You hit the 3 or 4 person mark, you've got a little bit of depth to integrate another hire in there. By the time you're hitting 10 employees, you better have a system down for doing this. You should know your numbers, all that kind of stuff. Um, but that mid-range mark, the 3 to the 6, you still might need some help. You still might have some apprehensions on the expenses of it. You might not have the outside financial guidance from an accountant that will walk you through these numbers a little more in depthly. But that's one of the things we're trying to give you some little bit of clarity right now on some of the stuff that you can look at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, whether you're again, like, whether it's you and one technician, or four plus 10 plus, definitely, like you mentioned, take the time, know your numbers. You got to double check the projected payroll, tax accountants. If you're not working with the tax accountant, then maybe it might be wise just to maybe get a consultation on next steps with your tax reps or your accountant. So, and I mean, when we were talking about it, it's, training is a big part of that. So you're spending, like you said, um, those 3 hours extra for some training. There's different options out there that obviously we have encountered on how you can find one good reputable trades apprentice schools, apprenticeship programs. There's pre-apprentice programs and a full-on 4-year programs that most employees will pick up on that. But I mean, we're talking about PHCC out of San Diego that we worked with a lot, and on a national level. And then through a lot of the episodes that we've had, just more recently, uh, community colleges that are, putting a lot of funding into their apprentice programs.
Absolutely. I mean, there's even high schools that are picking up um, a class or two in their senior year, teaching them the basics of a trade. So when they come out, they've got a certificate of training. It's at a certain level, but that level, I think, one, it already shows potential employer that they've focused on a particular trade. They've put the effort into learning the basics of that trade. They understand the lingo. They probably have a small bag of tools that's been collected or donated over that period of time. So it's not like they're coming in completely green off the street. You should be able to pick up, a pre-apprentice that has some really basic all-around knowledge of whatever your trade is. If it aligns with a local, like I said, high school or junior college, or even some of the non-for-profit trades groups out there. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really pleased with what we've seen over the years with the PHCC of San Diego. I know that is a national nonprofit with, I think there's 5 groups just in California that pretty much all have the same type of program. They're all run a little bit differently with different management, but um, yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff out there for people. They have the pre-apprenticeship program. They have the full gamut of 4-year journeyman program, going to night
Hmm.
school, doing some studying.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, this is where, you know, this is just taking that extra time to find out, what programs are in your area for for your field of business. And at the same time, what are you doing to support these programs? Because these programs and these type of associations are looking for businesses to put already signed up um, apprentices into your business. So if you're involved with these company or with these associations, they're going to find you high qualified, candidates. And sometimes whether you bring them a candidate through someone that reached out to you, or the right now that we've been hearing, PHCC has a has attendees coming into their program that are looking for jobs, or they're going to these programs first and then they're looking to get hired. So a big opportunities out there. Just depends what you're going to do to support these groups, and you just got to dig a little bit deep. But that's why you're listening to this podcast. This is the Trades Podcast, so we have the resources. Definitely go back and listen to a lot of what PHCC has had to offer, and look at some of those community colleges that are implementing some of these apprentice programs into their states.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a UEI, who's a Western States private training thing. They have electrical, HVAC, uh, plumbing, a couple other tech courses, and
Yeah, auto
um,
auto auto tech.
yeah, an auto tech class.
Hmm.
And we just had Carroll Community College, more, where are they at? Northeast United States.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
the same thing. Bunch of different programs out there. They're all over the United States right now. That definitely, the trades deficit has caught the attention of multiple organizations, multiple training schools, and they've picked up the pace. They're answering the call.
Mhm.
Um, and we've been doing this 5 years on the podcast, over 200 shows, and we've seen the turnaround. We've seen this gigantic boat slowly turning, and I've got a lot more faith that we're going to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that for sure as well. The piece of I think we were talking about it in one of the last few episodes that's be coming out soon is, now big tech is looking to start implementing some programs for new generations to come in and learn more about the trades, because there's a demand for buildings to be built for these data centers or just new technology that needs a lot more infrastructure. So just keep an eye on that, and just know, again, you gotta do your research. You gotta understand what's happening in your field of business, where to find these highly trained and reputable apprentice programs. So, like, imagine you gotta ask yourself the question: what opportunities are you losing because you're trying to do everything yourself? That's a piece that's going to maybe damage you a little bit. So it's like, you're going to ask yourself, who should you hire first? And this is great that we talked about it a little earlier. Just like, this is going to be more for specific, that Jeff, you're going to cover a little bit about the 3 to 6 employees. What did you kind of find out on this?
The first 10 people that I think I got lucky on, skilled people, knew what they were doing, but I didn't have a system. By the time I had 10 people, I was definitely working on a skills ladder, a success ladder for the business, trying to define what the different skills are. We did deck coatings, but not everybody needed to know how to do deck coatings. We built a lot of patio covers and decks. We'd have a supervisor that knew how to take a large intricate deck apart because it was damaged and put it back together. We didn't have blueprints. We just took enough pictures and diagrams and measurements that we could put it back together basically the same way with new materials and a little better building techniques. So um, everybody's got a different business. Everybody's got a different model, but you constantly need to be working on finding people that can, make your job easier. I didn't have to spend a lot of time on job sites supervising after a certain point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one thing where it's, at least an hour, right? Like you mentioned, or 2 to 3 a week, to get out of the office, shut down that phone, find a place where you can work on the business, um, how to improve, run through 100 list of subjects. Most importantly, what's important, and then the consistency is a key thing too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've met multiple business owners that take off Friday afternoons, go someplace, quiet spot, and work on their business, not in their business. For me, that was kind of hard because there was a lot of decision making Friday morning on what's happening,
Yeah.
and Friday afternoon, getting some
Hmm.
payroll out and stuff. I was usually around for that. So I had a Thursday morning thing that I just didn't show up to the office quite as early
Right.
and spend a little time, So you got to do what's time wise appropriate for your business. It
Hmm.
could be Monday afternoons. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, depending on, you got your 24-hour service contractors out there that could be up at 4 in the morning and on a Friday or something, and having to make some decisions early for that morning. But um, but yeah, it's definitely something that we always talk about is, being committed and staying consistent with just moving the needle towards the right direction, because if you don't and you ignore it, then it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect that business consistency on that place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those you start out. Maybe you have your wife or girlfriend helping you on being the back end office, answering some calls, doing some books, to um, whatever skill level they have. That might be something they already do full time for somebody else as an employee, and then they bring it home and do a little bit for you and get you up and started. After a certain point, though, you should be able to pay somebody to do that. Um, at least on a part-time, you should know your busy hours. When's the phone normally ring? First thing in the
Hmm.
morning, late in the afternoon, help out with scheduling, follow-ups, for estimates that you've put out. I mean, it's great that you can make the phone call and touch base with the customer, but um, that might take you 3 or 4 phone calls. If you have somebody in the office helping you out with the first 2 or 3 to tee that up for you, um, it's gonna help increase your closing ratios,
Hmm.
uh, hopefully increase the quality of the jobs you're working on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we listed quite a few, like who you should hire first, and we talked about that, like you mentioned a little bit right now, the office administrator that would be able to help out, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're running 3 or 4 employees and you find yourself doing a lot of this stuff yourself, then maybe that should be your next, new hire, maybe not a technician. Um, so it'll free you up enough time to help with finding the right technician, writing the job description for the next technician, doing some of those interviews, not rush into it.
Hmm.
But if you're constantly chasing, the making the business run yourself, then those tasks are going to be a lot more harder to get done, time consuming for you. They'll seem more like an interruption in your day as
Hmm.
opposed to the work for the next level, next step.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and then so I imagine, once you have that office administration, so the phones are being answered, scheduling's, on point, follow-ups, estimates are being going out, job site access, supplies are being ordered, special orders for equipments, collections, and maybe probably just even a little help with marketing, whether it's social media, whether it's on your website, updates that need to be implemented. So if those things are on point, like you mentioned, it kind of opens up that door for just more time to find like a field technician would be maybe around the second hire, right?
Yeah. And one of the things we want to talk about with an office administrator,
Yeah.
also, is technology.
Mm.
Um, as I was exiting, technology was available to us, but just in the last few years, it's, exploded. There's technology out there where the customer takes the phone call or, sends the phone call in. Um, there's a series of questions, AI driven. Um, Maybe the technology hub behind it is something that you should do before you actually hire an office administrator, or um, it'll be a good stepping stone to help you get to that point
Yeah.
because now you have increased business, increased efficiency with scheduling estimates, increased efficiency on the follow up
Hmm.
through the software program, which is going to create more um, tasks with the increased business. Now you got more supplies to order. You got to tee up more subcontractors to help get in on the project.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, technology is definitely just grown exponentially. So, I mean, I just spoke with the contractor yesterday that, you know, right away, probably within the first like 10 rings, no answer, but then it switched over. I can hear it. It switched over and it went straight to Sarah, the AI assistant. So, but there I am sitting, talking and giving the information to this AI piece, and I was impressed. I've gone through it before. I've heard a few others to really understand, what technology is out there, but I think it's just improving. It really is since the first time I had experienced it. And I gave it all the information. It was feeding me back some questions to get some more details about the project. I imagine I was trying to move. It's for moving a tough shed, uh, um, a tough shed from one location to another. And if you've ever done that or even try to logistically do it, it's going to be a hassle if you don't have the right tools, the right logistic equipment. So it's asking me these questions about the project, and I was super impressed. So the contractor wasn't able to do it, unfortunately, but I still got my answer fairly quickly within the first like 30 minutes of, sending the information through AI. It ended up getting to the contractor, and I was able to get a message back from them letting me know that they can do it. So, instead of waiting a full 24 hours, all right, after you're done with your jobs and then following up with me late night, I was able to get that answer fairly quickly, through that technology. I believe that's what was absolutely helped. So just a quick little example.
Well, then you're going to like our next show we're recording then, Danny. We have the CEO of Angie coming on, and they're going
Hmm.
to walk us through the process of how you can get multiple bids very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, everybody's gonna be waiting for that one. We're gonna get this episode out to everybody too, so they can hear it.
Yeah,
Uh, but it's definitely a key piece. That technology's there. Don't be afraid of it. Definitely allocate for it. I know a lot of people can start saying like, oh well, I'm paying for this program, this program, this program. But definitely do your due diligence and find out what's going to be best for you. And you're going to find that even one piece of technology can absolutely do a lot for you. We've had a lot of other programs out there like that, or contractors that use other programs like job tread, and like with a huge handyman, huge home pros that have absolutely been able to shine the light on new technologies that they use, and it's helped them grow their business. Yeah.
absolutely. Depending on what your field is, builder trend's a big one out there for managing anywhere from payroll to huge projects to allowing the customer to see the pictures and daily updates on there. Yeah, there's a lot of software programs out there. Take your time to find out which one is the best suited for you
Hmm.
with what it can do. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
one
right.
of the other things that I think will make a huge impact on a company is having a salesperson beside yourself.
Mm,
If you can um, create that position, and one of the things I'd suggest, if when you start thinking about it, start working on it, because that is not a hey, I need a salesperson and place an ad out there. You need a commission structure and a pay structure that's going to match your company. That structure also needs to be enticing. You do not want to have a salesperson that has no sales skills out there. You want somebody that's, got some experience. I mean, if you're a window installer and the guy's coming from a plumbing company, but he has great sales skills, you can teach him the technical side of the windows installs. You can give them parameters and pricing platforms. Um, and that takes time to put together that package to be able to, even if they've done window sales for another company,
mhm,
your company's probably got some unique offerings, different brand, pricing structure. All those things need to be documented ahead of time before you hire the sales estimator.
mhm,
So when you think you're getting there, start working on it. That's one of the things I recommend you do off site, to get in your head. What are the list of things that are important to me and my business for this salesperson to do? What's the sales process going to be?
mhm,
You can get as detailed as knock on the door, take 3 steps back, wait for the customer to answer the door, have your,
mhm,
tablet business cards ready. Um, the pre phone calls to set up the appointment. All those things should be written down as a step by step process through the whole thing. What works for you? What do you think you want to improve upon with a new salesperson? You have that opportunity now to take the time to write it all out and create a profile. What's the follow up system you expect?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be a key thing, the SOPs beforehand, even just for yourself. I mean, it can be as simple as just writing it down on a piece of paper for right now, and then, just going through the steps next time, a cold lead comes in, you're gonna wanna start recording it from there. Like, all right, what are the steps that I'm actually taking to to from the start to the end of, your closing rate for a new cold lead. And then you have different systems for a hot lead, for an Instagram, for a fresh website, lead, different ways of how you would imagine it being handled. And of course, you may not find someone that has huge experience within your field. Obviously, that's a plus. But if you don't, then these systems and processes are going to help you be able to communicate it more effectively and just get them onboarded much quicker. And so you can allow them to do their thing and just keep growing your business. And like you mentioned, Jeff, I mean, you're talking about like a commission system. What's something that you have maybe seen in the past for yourself and your company that has been more effective for sales reps?
Well, I think one of the things when I first started looking for a salesperson, that's one of the things I was looking at is how much do I pay them?
Hmm.
And we were at a 25% profit margin minus their salary. So if we made $100, they made 25, minus whatever the salary I paid them during the month was. So it was definitely relied a lot on the office staff to track all that stuff
Hmm.
for me. We had a commission report that came out um, once a month on that particular pay period.
Yeah.
Definitely had to sit down and review it. Double, double check, spot check a lot of the numbers on there. Um, and there was some back and forth on it. Some jobs were taking longer than expected, but we got some initial payments through the process.
Hmm.
Yeah, you just got to work out the system. That's one of the things and one of the best ways to help with creating a system is networking. Network with people. If you're a window company, ask the plumbing company how they work their system. Ask the deck builder what their system is. Um, and if you guys are all trying to help each other grow your business in a networking group, I found that was one of the ways I got so much valuable information that I could not get from, you know, just calling up the accountant.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, definitely. I think that's a key thing, like you mentioned. You got to learn from other business owners. You got to, I'm sure, Jeff, I mean, you didn't have all these podcasts out there that, spewed out all this information and trying to get you, to grow your business. I think one thing that you have mentioned or something that we mentioned in the past is like Facebook groups, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I first started, Facebook was very early on, but um, yeah, now I follow several construction trades Facebook groups.
Hmm.
And I enjoy it. I still learn stuff. Not that I get to use it, but it's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on a little bit, Danny. One of your next hires, say you do got the system down for hiring a new tech. You've got the office
Sales.
staff now. You've got a little more time. Now you've hired a salesperson. You're kind of growing the wheel there with new hires and stuff, and you're up to 6, maybe even 12 employees. Do you need an operations manager or a production manager? Yeah.
Hmm.
Have you gone up to a couple salesperson? You've got a dedicated salesperson in one area and a dedicated salesperson for another product line. Um, you need a customer service representative, somebody that's always doing the follow up and the scheduling and um, um, working on the selling the next bigger project for you. So
Hmm.
those are stuff that I don't know what's right for your particular business, but you definitely have to have a few people going and other positions filled before you look at an operations manager.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying these positions, in my mind, I'm thinking for myself and my business of, what's the customer experience going to be like? Um, is that customer service representative going to enhance the experience for the customer? Is that dedicated salesperson going to be able to be the only one that the clients are speaking with, and that's their main piece of communication? Or are they talking to multiple people, yourself as the owner, the office admin, and the field technician all at the same time, and and information's getting put out in different ways. So this is where, where you can centralize that communication with the dedicated salesperson, your production manager to your operations manager. All these may not be able to be hired individually, but I would imagine you can probably put two of these positions under one hat, in the beginning.
Absolutely. I mean, we did a lot of decks in my business, and the salesperson had a really good knowledge of what needed to be done. But every 3 jobs, there's uh, a point that's missed or something that comes up that we couldn't see during the inspection process. Do I want to pull him away from a scheduled sales appointment, or have operations or a production manager go out there, go to the job site, meet with the homeowner, meet with the technician, and find a solution?
Hmm.
W-
Yeah.
we were at that level that I definitely, I had to do it sometimes. Sometimes it was necessary at first to have the salesperson stop, like, okay, what'd you tell them? What's happening here? And that was an interruption. When we got to the point where I could have somebody as an operations manager, it was a good title for him. The homeowner respected the title, usually respected the opinions, and nobody else had to jump in, and we
Hmm.
handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it was like, it's going to cost you a little bit more. It's going to take an extra 4 hours that none of us could have seen. We had no idea. We
Hmm.
opened it all up and found out the substructure is completely rotted below the plywood decking on the
Yeah.
balcony. This is a complete rebuild.
Yeah.
How do we handle this?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that heavy communication, and knowing when to step in, because those are times where you might find your employees coming to you. It's like, hey, like, what do I do here? And this is like a perfect training moment. It's like, hey, this is how we're going to handle it, and next time this does happen, this is kind of the verbiage that we're going to use. Those are small little training moments, I think, are key to success to the future. Yeah. Now, well, Jeff, I got a question for you though. After talking about, who to hire, when to hire, how to hire, who was your best hire?
well, I think my best hires were basically two of the partners I had. They were the salespeople, Mike and Don. Without them working and building and believing in the business, we wouldn't have grown without their help to the size we were. Um, so I think I got lucky on, bringing them in early on, but with their help, we definitely grew. We had, other salespeople in the years we were in business. We brought in office staff to help make things a lot more efficient for us.
Hmm.
We did in-house accounting most of the time. I'd ship it off to the tax guy at the end of the year for the final calculations. But yeah, Mike and Don early on definitely helped.
Hmm.
You got to give them credit for it. Always
Nice.
will.
Yeah.
Um,
And what hire did you wait too long for, like, to make? What was your what do you wish you probably done a little sooner?
I'm not sure I could have afforded it, but last few years I had an in-house business coach.
Okay. Hmm.
So that he really helped with a lot of the marketing, um, redefined some of the commission structure for, everybody that, made our sales staff more happy. And it was actually a little more cost savings for us on the back end. So yeah, he made a huge difference. We had two companies, so he was
Hmm.
helping out with both of them.
And like you mentioned, maybe early on, you wouldn't know if you would be able to afford it. Are there any other stipulations that someone would say, like, "Oh, I don't need a business coach for what reasons?" What would you think?
Well, I think everybody should have a coach at one level or another. Um, some of the networking groups that I attended were held and presented and coordinated by a business coach. So we had a different subject every month. Yeah, he kept pushing us to read a book. and we'd review that book for an hour. Everybody give updates on where their business was at, some of the challenges they had. We'd all chip in with our, you know, limited ability to understand what was happening, to give our input on it. You know, it helped me. I think it helped the other businesses that were in the room.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, business coach. We've had a few on our show, like Mike Struzik, um, and some others that have definitely been able to help out. All businesses really. But if you find someone that's within your like you mentioned, Jeff, you were in a networking group ran by a business coach.
Yes, Mike
Yeah.
Struzik.
Yeah, with Mike. But I mean, if they can find someone in that space, I'm sure there's probably even more specific ones that are more geared towards the trades out there. So, look into it, everybody. Find yourself a group. If you can't pay for something more individual, and maybe there's a little bit more cost effective within a networking group to join. That's geared towards trades and business coaching. I'm sure it's.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't if you're a plumber, don't join a group of a bunch of plumbers. They're not going to be open and honest about where they're at and advice for you. They're competitors,
Mhm.
especially if it's in your local territory. If it's a national group, and you're in San Diego, but you're talking to somebody in Michigan, or Florida, they're going to be a lot more forthright. And there is national groups out there that do that,
Mhm.
several of them.
Yeah, that's good.
But
Good to hear. Yeah, and then I mean, the hire before you need them strategy. When's the best time to hire? We're explaining. Not when you're drowning. If you can kind of tell what we're talking about. Don't wait till you're driving, till you're drowning. When you're busy enough to train, um, don't wait for those moments. Training requires systems, a plan, the patience, the time is a big thing. Everybody, I think, as any business owner will tell you, time is everything, and time is money. So I think that's a patient thing that goes hand in hand together, where you got to be patient with your time and use your time wisely in order to make sure that you're putting those systems and plans in place. And owners that that waits until everything gets a little bit overwhelming, then you're just kind of setting yourself for for a loss, for poor onboarding, employees that just don't get your strategy, or they don't understand what the goal is for them as in their position. And when that I think that's just a recipe for disaster. But you're going to have high turnover, I would imagine, because it'll be apparent for those employees that, hey, like, this is not organized. This is not something I was expecting to come into. And they're going to end up, possibly just looking at your competitors and finding out who has a better system in place.
Absolutely. And if you're not prepared for the new hire, you're going to frustrate your existing employees that are trying to pick up the slack that you weren't prepared for. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
hire
Yeah.
when you're busy, not when you're desperate.
Yeah, great way. Yeah. And that's a good way to finish it off right here, because, we've been just talking about this main episode for today, hiring too late, the most expensive mistakes small contractors are making out there. And this is hopefully something that's going to resonate with you. So our three takeaways, um, and definitely should remember for everybody to share or just speak to someone about it. If you're working every weekend, you're probably understaffed. Number two, the cost of waiting is often greater than payroll. And number three, the best hires are made before the emergency or when an emergency happens. It's not if, it's when the emergency is going to happen. So start preparing now.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, most contractors don't fail because they hired too soon. They will adapt if they do. They struggle because they waited too long. They weren't prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so be prepared, put those systems in place. Start finding out and really dissecting where your business is at. And I loved your strategy, Jeff. Say that again of taking some time out of the week.
Absolutely. Whatever day for a certain time, for a lot of people, they found Friday afternoons, get out of the office, go to, Starbucks, go to the library, don't go home.
Go to your local
don't-
BBB office.
Yeah. Great place to go.
Yeah.
Get some quiet time and desk, free Wi-Fi. If you're a accredited BBB member, you can go in there and utilize their facilities if you have one in your local area. But whatever it is, or whatever day of the week it is, whatever time, just be consistent. I think that's the key. Don't start off gun ho and take a half a day on Friday, and then the next week, I got an emergency, I can't do it. You have to be consistent.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Well, if you found this to be super helpful, we hope that you can, one, go back and listen to this, replay it, and dissect it a little bit more. Share it with your business partners. If you're a contractor, you can absolutely share this, possibly with your boss. If you're a technician out there, let them know that, hey, you want to be in one of these positions, and this is you convincing them to give you a pay raise and a promotion.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that'd be a good way to do it. But share this with everybody. This is the Trades Podcast. We're excited to continue to give you insights and episodes like this when it's just Jeff and I. But look forward, like you said, look out for the CEO, Jeff Kipp, to be coming up for the Trades Podcast right here. We'll see everybody next time.
All right. Over and out.